I want winners. I want people that want to win.
You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
You got to put your money where your mouth is, Pete.
It's not gambling advice.
Tuesday, May 31st, not gambling advice, waiver wire episode. We are a day late. Obviously, it's Memorial Day weekend, so we took, the Sunday off. We're recording this on Monday. I hope everybody didn't miss us too badly yesterday, but we're going to bring you some really good information today, waiver wire pickups, streaming pitchers, and we're going to go rapid fire. Today, I'm your host, Colby Olson, obviously, but today I'm not joined by Peter Apple. I am joined by the one and only Javier Reyes. What is up, man?
What is up? Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low to keep me from talking about fantasy, man. How are you doing on this lovely Tuesday? For the listeners, at least. For us, it's definitely not Tuesday, but this is definitely also the first time we tried recording this too.
Definitely the first time. Anyways, let's get into. We're gonna go rapid fire. We got a bunch of good names for you today to pick up for your fantasy team. A bunch of good streamers. Javi, I'm throwing it over to you first. Give me your first waiver wire ad of the week.
You got it, sir. Let's talk about arguably, and it's funny because the listeners might not know this. One of the long running jokes in Just Baseball lore, I'm going to say, right, is that you love your expected stats and people like making fun of it. One of them, our Kendall McKee. Shout out the cardboard consultants, of course, loves making fun of you for Eduardo Rodriguez because his expected stats didn't always kick in. And he made a joke about, they'll kick in when the next World Cup starts. But I think that they oftentimes, when judging waiver wire, pickups can be very useful. And I think that when you look at the Giants' crop of starting pitchers, the Giants, a team that, some people at Just Baseball don't believe in. I personally do. But more importantly, I believe in their starting pitching. And the guy that we got to talk about is Alec Cobb, who is arguably one of the most unlucky pitchers in baseball. He's the bizarro Cal Quantrill, dare I say. Shout out Peter Apple. This year so far, he's striking out a lot of batters, but and draining a whole lot of ground balls. Launch angle stuff on him is low. And 11.2 K per nine. The problem is that his ERA has been pretty crappy so far. 5.73 ERA as of this recording. Not very good. He's been killing you. If you're in points league, he's been getting you some minus performances probably. But the difference between his ERA and FIP is just too glaring to ignore, even for a guy like me that enjoys when people like making fun of Colby for his expected stats and advanced stats and whatnot. A 2.63 FIP, way too low. It does not match up with his ERA is basically what I'm saying here. And given the ground ball rate and all that stuff, given the fact that it's just the Giants, right? Like I trust them and I like doing that with fantasy. I like choosing players from good teams that have great coaching staffs and what have you. Alex Cobb is the guy, and I would drop. Hey, I just mentioned Cal Quantrill. I would drop Cal Quantrill for him.
Agreed with you, Javi. You look at his numbers across the board. His FIP, 2.63 is 12th in baseball. His ground ball rate, 65.5%. is third in baseball behind Aaron Ashby and Framber Valdez. So he's elite at getting ground balls. He doesn't give up many home runs. Right now, his left on base percentage, which means any runners that get on base, he's only leaving 50% of runners on right now, which is just not sustainable. The MLB average is around 75%. So you have to believe that that's going to correct at some point. This is a guy that, like you said, striking out over 11 batters per 9 innings. He's owned in 45% of Yahoo leagues, maybe a little lower on ESPN leagues right now. So this is a guy that I have him owned everywhere. We talked about him last week. He had a string of 2 bad starts, one in Colorado, which I don't put much weight into. And then he got hit around by the Mets, but only gave up 1 home run and struck out, 7 batters and didn't walk anybody. So it just seemed like, wasn't his day that day, but he still pitched well and just dominated the Reds. So all over this guy, Javi. I'm going to move into my first waiver wire ad. Michael Harris of the Atlanta Braves just got called up yesterday or 2 days ago, I believe. And so he's going to be moving to the outfield, 35% owned in Yahoo. The hype behind Michael Harris, he's already owned in 35% of leagues. You look at a guy like Alec Thomas, who's an even more well-regarded prospect, a top 15 prospect in some circles, is still just 27% owned, and he's hitting well. Alec Thomas is hitting like 270 right now with 3 bombs, some good run production. But why people are so enamored and so hyped up about Michael Harris II is that he has beyond elite speed. He has stolen 11 bags in 41 AAA games. He's a burner. He's hitting 305 with 5 bombs in those 41 games as well. So you have to believe that average is going to translate. Some of that power is going to translate. You know, he's hitting 9th in this Braves lineup, which will be good for his run production because if he gets on base, the meat of that Braves order is coming up behind him. And he's going to have a lot of room to steal a lot of bags. You know, this is a guy that I think you need to speculatively add in 12-team leagues, possibly a 10-team league if you're low on speed. Because, you know, if he's not hitting in 3 weeks, you can always drop him. There's going to be other guys on the waiver wire to pick up. But with his speed potential, with actually some pretty good pop potential as well, this is a guy that, you know, really could be a mainstay on your roster if he comes up and makes an impact right away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in general with prospect guys, they're always worth a speculative ad. They're worth a speculative put on your watch list at the minimum, right? And I know that we're talking about like 10 or 12 team leagues, so maybe it's in deeper leagues. You definitely got to pick him up. I just checked. Fraudum Layton, co-founder of Just Baseball, added him actually a couple days ago. I was about to add him because you sold me. You sold me, Colby. But I agree, man. And I think with the Braves, especially, like you said, with the Braves, good lineup. You know, he could score some runs. He has that chance to make an impact immediately. It's not going to hurt you if he stinks or whatnot, right? This could be the next prospect that shines through, maybe even just for a couple of weeks. And especially with speed, which is just so hard to find in fantasy baseball, obviously. I agree 100% with you, sir.
Javi, before you get your next guy, I do want to say that Alec Thomas, who I just mentioned as a guy that, you know, is owned in less leagues than Michael Harris, I think he's also a good ad right now too. 27% owned. He has 3 bombs, hitting 270 with a lot of power, hitting the ball hard. He's going to be in the lineup every day for the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's another guy that I think you can add if you need a little bit more of the power upside and less of the speed upside. But Javi, I'll let you get into your next guy.
Absolutely. And speaking of speed, this isn't my main next guy. I do want to mention Jorge Mateo. As someone who hates himself and how the Padres, every single player they let go of turns into something, I'm just going to assume that at some point, Jorge Mateo will get better as a hitter. He's batting .214 right now. That's not great, but 13 steals. And like we just mentioned, if your bargain been dumping, you know, maybe your guys who are supposed to steal bases haven't been doing that for you so far, give him an ad. If you really need stolen bases, because the 204, 250 on base, not the best hitter. But again, I'm just kind of a guy who's like, at this point, I'm just assuming every former Padre is going to figure out something. Josh Naylor is doing stuff for Cleveland. I mean, that's just me right now.
Jorge Mateo is like selling. You're like, you know, a used car salesman. You're like, you know, I got this really nice Lexus over here. Doesn't have many miles on it, but you don't want that. You don't want that. And then he points over to like this 20-year-old Camry that has like 180,000 miles on it, but it gets the job done. And it's kind of like Billy Hamilton, and it steals a lot of bags. You want that? Yeah, you want that.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Look, again, could hurt you in batting average, but again, I just think that with the stolen bases, he's at least worth checking out if you need that. But my main guy that I want to highlight is also someone who is again going to trigger me because he was on my watch list since the beginning of the season. All right. And that's Kyle Lewis, outfielder for the Seattle Mariners. Had him on my watch list. And I stupidly decided that for some reason, let me just leave my bench open. We're in a 16-team league. I'm an idiot. Let's be very clear. Colby could talk to you about my drafting strategy, which after I drafted Cody Bellinger, I literally just drafted all memes afterward and just gave up apparently. So that's just been my look so far. And I didn't manage to pick up Kyle Lewis before I had the chance. Kyle Lewis, power speed combo, decent lineup over in Seattle that I think Seattle, it is fair to say in the beginning that, all right, they did have unbelievably clutch hitting last year. Maybe we overvalued them, even if they did have a pretty good offseason. But I still believe that Winker, Julio Rodriguez, he's picked it up, obviously. But guys like Winker, even Eugenio Suarez, they've been kicking up a little bit. Adam Frazier's kind of okay, former Padre. I think the lineup is pretty good to support him. And I think the power is pretty legit. The last time we really saw him and talked about him was in 2020 when he hit 11 home runs in 58 games, which is really solid power, and 262, 364 batting average on base. I love looking at that for fantasy just because it shows you this isn't a guy that I fear could head into some giant slump and going to be only power. Speed, All right. He did manage to steal 5 bags in those 58 games. I think he has some speed upside, but, coming off the injury, maybe he might not have that for you. Bottom line, though, is outfield. I think that with this lineup combined with the power tools, and he's a young player, too. Not young player. He's had an early stretch of his career. Maybe he's molding into what he's going to be for the rest of his career.
26 years old, former rookie of the year,
really?
Javi.
Okay,
I mean, yeah, still pretty young, and
I thought he was
definitely
older.
has some upside. I do like that he's pretty much just going to be playing DH because I don't think he's just one of those guys for whatever reason that when he plays in the outfield, he cannot stay on the field. And in a DH role where he's just focusing on hitting, I think, yeah, there's some pretty legit upside here, hitting 6th, 7th in that Mariners lineup. Definitely worth a look. I believe he's owned in around 35 or 40% of leagues right now. So I like that one, Javi. I'm going to move over to my next guy. And this is a guy that coming to this year, I was more hyped up on than possibly anybody out there. And I was really disappointed because he got off to a terrible start to the season, Javi. But Alejandro Kirk of the Toronto Blue Jays, who you may know because he's a 5'7", 260-pound catcher. I mean, like, the dude does not look like a baseball player. But let me tell you, this man hits baseballs better than almost anyone, like legitimately just making contact and hitting the ball. He is at the top of the league, right? Since May 1st, Javi, he's hitting 338 with just a 7% strikeout rate and a 12% walk rate in 71 plate appearances. The big thing for Kirk coming into the year was, last year he had a near 45% hard hit rate. And I was like, the power's there. This guy makes a ton of contact. He's bound to be a 310, a 320 hitter and, getting a big opportunity in this Blue Jays lineup, but it just didn't happen at the beginning of the year. He had a 33% hard hit rate through the first month of the season in April. But over the last month, I mentioned since May 1st, he has a 43% hard hit rate. He's not striking out. I really do have to believe that 338 average might be a little inflated, but I think he has all the makings of a guy that can hit well over 300 with, close to 20 home run power. This is a guy that, probably fell off a lot of people's radar because he struggled to begin the year, but he's only 31% owned right now. And I think right now is the time to add him. And I'm going to say something crazy. I'd rather have him on my team than Adley Rutschman. It's an absolutely crazy thing to say because Adley Rutschman just came up as one of the top prospects in all of baseball. But let me tell you, it takes a lot of time to adjust to the big leagues. And I think it's going to take Adley Rutschman at least a month to really adjust to the big leagues and figure himself out in this league, especially as a switch hitter, right? He's not learning to hit just from one side in the bigs. He's learning to hit from two sides. It takes a little bit longer. So I think adding Alejandro Kirk is absolutely the move. You can wait. If you missed out on Adley Rutschman, Kirk is the guy to go get.
And look, with catchers, I think we overstate and overrate all the upcoming guys all the time. And I think that most often in fantasy baseball, having a good catcher is a nice little bonus because there just aren't that many that are going to be awesome. But like you said, Adley Rutschman is going to take some time to adapt. And I want the guy in the Blue Jays lineup. I absolutely do. If I had Adley Rutschman, I'd look to potentially trade him. Maybe there's an Orioles fan in your league and say, hey, it's the number one prospect in baseball. Come on, give me some outfield help or give me some speed help. I agree with you. And I just think that with Rutschman, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. The rookies this year have been very odd, right? It's been kind of the ones who fell off the radar that have been a big deal, like Mackenzie Gore, Stephen Kwan at the beginning of the year. But
Royce Lewis as of late, he just got hurt, but yeah.
But like Torkelson and Bobby Witt started off pretty poorly, right? Like a lot of those top guys, aside from Julio Rodriguez, we love Julio Rod. All right,
and even he started off poorly to begin the year. They take time.
They take time. So I agree with you 100%, especially at catcher. Go get that guy. Awesome lineup. It just, don't you feel like the Blue Jays are going to go nuclear at some point? I smell it. I smell it coming soon. I just don't know exactly when.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that on AL East State of the Division later today. But Javi, as you know, Not Gambling Advice podcast is presented by Prize Picks. We're happy to be presented by Prize Picks. They just added some pretty exciting stuff to the board today on the MLB side of things. So now you can add walks allowed into your parlays. You can add pitches thrown into your prop parlays. You can add even hits allowed and earn runs allowed. So they added a bunch of these pitcher props that I think are really, really fun. And I'm excited to dive into them because I feel like pitches thrown prop, like those are things that are more quantifiable. And I think you could actually find edges, a little bit better. Like Peter and I have been killing the runs and RBIs props So I'm excited to dive in. So if you want to check out these new props added to Prize Picks and you don't have the app, use promo code JustBaseball. We have the link in the description as well, but use promo code JustBaseball, download the Prize Picks app, sign up, and you get a 100% deposit match up to $200. Javi, let's move into, do you have any other waiver wire ads or should we move into streaming pitchers?
I think we should move into stream pitchers. I will say one thing for all you people who might be enjoying the Danny Jimenez thing right now. He's been a really good closer out of Oakland. Maybe include him in a trade package only because think about it. I just think any player that's good, Oakland is looking to change. And with relievers, especially if he gets, not that he's a bad pitcher, this has nothing to do with his skills. I think
he's going to get traded.
Yeah. He might get traded and he might go to a team that's
be a setup guy or something.
And be a setup guy. So maybe include him in a package.
Before we move to streamers, I do have one guy that I want to talk about just real quick because I feel like he's going to get hot here and he has 2 home runs over his last 4 games. Bobby Dolbeck, who actually
he's back.
So let me preface this with Bobby Dolbeck will not be good the entire year. But do you remember Chris Carter? Big home run hitter. Chris Carter. You know, he hit like 40 something bombs one year with the Brewers.
Oh yeah.
Chris Carter was the king of hitting like 5 home runs in 1 week and then not hitting a home run for another 3 weeks. Then if he would hit a home run, I would immediately run to the waiver wire and go, okay, Chris Carter's about to go ballistic. And he would hit like 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 home runs in a span of 7 or 8 games. I think that's what's about to happen with Bobby Dolbeck. I think Bobby Dolbeck is about to get really, really hot. He has a 49% hard hit rate this year, Javi. His K rate is down 7%, and his home run per fly ball rate is below 10% right now, which just does not add up for a guy that, you know, hits the ball as hard as he does, hits it in the air as much as he does. His home run per fly ball rate legitimately should be over 20%. And so I'm buying, you know, not for the whole season, but I'm buying that in the next month here, Bobby Dolbeck is going to go on a tear. And it's a guy not to add just yet, but like watch his stats over the next week and just monitor where his K rate is at, monitor how hard, you know, if he's making contact a good amount, and then pick him up because I think he's about to get hot. I'll let you get into your streamer, but
you can't let go of Bobby Dolbeck, can you? Just
because the tool, but dude, it's not even being a Red Sox fan. Like, I crap on Bobby Dolbeck more than most, right? I watch his at-bats, and sometimes his at-bats are absolutely terrible. But the thing is, the underlying numbers behind Bobby Dolbeck is pretty nuts how hard he hits the ball. His barrel rate is very high. He hits a lot of line drives. Like, legitimately, Bobby Dolbeck should be a better hitter than he is. And I do think he's going to get hot here. You know, this is a guy that was, 108 WRC plus last year. He's at 60 WRC plus this year. It's just, there's a big gap between his WOBA and xWOBA. I think he's about to get hot.
Power, cheap power that sells in fantasy. That could happen anytime. I love the Chris Carter comp. It's true. I remember that. It was like, hold steady, hold together, everybody. And then right when it comes, it's like 10 home runs in 2 weeks or something crazy with Chris Carter. Love that dude. He would have benefited if he got saved by the Giants or something like that. But anyway, my streamer of the week is Mr. Aaron Ashby, who you talked about a little bit earlier as being a ground ball king. He also manages to strike out some guys a decent old amount. He does walk some, which isn't great, but he's definitely the definition of a waiver wire ad with Freddie Peralta on the IL. We don't know how long the leash is going to be for Ashby. I talked with a buddy over at Locked On Brewers, Dominic Cotriano. He's really high on him and he thinks he's got some stuff. And most importantly, the matchups. Maybe you had him already. I wish this episode had come out on Friday. Against the Cubs was his start, but he is next scheduled to face the Padres. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, because all these people, Aram Layton, Fraudum Layton, I'm going to keep calling him, Peter the Big Apple, and Jack Wack Mullen, right? They're putting the Padres so high on the power rankings because they want to jinx them. They want to mess with me. The number 5 team in baseball, this is all a thing to conspire against me. If you watch the Padres hit, this is a team that a lot of their players that need to be great this year, Grisham and Jake Cronenworth, they have not been good offensive players. The only reason the Padres offense has been good is because the Padres first baseman that I still will not name on this year's show, that he, for some reason, has been a batting average king, and then Manny Machado is performing like an MVP.
Man, you want to say it. Eric Hosmer.
No, I can't do it. I can't do it, man. I can't do it yet. I can't do it. But seriously, that's a pretty good matchup, especially in Milwaukee. I think he's had something to prove to maybe be a fixture in that rotation for more weeks to come. But as a streamer, I like him against the Padres this week for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think he's a guy that you can add. I think you add him just for the long run at this point. I mean, he's been in a weird role this year, kind of like a Tanner Howe, kind of like a Christian Javier, where they've been bouncing him back and forth between being a starter, being a reliever, being a long reliever. Sometimes he's going 4 innings out of the bullpen. And it's just kind of strange when they do that. I feel like it takes a mental toll to be able to pitch like that and not really know exactly what your role is. But he started against the Padres last weekend, went 5 2/3, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. The problem for Ashby is the walks. He has strikeout stuff. His slider, which is his primary pitch, he throws 35% of the time. It's nasty, 41% whiff rate. But the walks are what kills Ashby. Sometimes he won't walk a guy through an outing, right? The Marlins, 3 starts ago, he went 4 innings, 8 Ks, threw a no-hitter in those 4 innings. Actually, a perfect game in those 4 innings, But then you look at his other starts, Javi. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he goes 4 innings, 6 earned, 4 walks. Mm-hmm. And it's like the walks are what will kill Ashby. But if he can get the walks under control and keep them to 2, 3 an outing, he has the strikeout stuff. He has a really nice sinker that gets a ton of ground balls. Like I said, he has the highest ground ball rate in all of baseball right now, even above Framber Valdez. So this is a guy to definitely speculatively add as a streamer this week because he's 45% owned right now. But I think this is a guy that could be soon here, 70, 75% owned, like we saw Christian Javier when he got his chance. Now he's starting every week and everyone has him. And if you have him, you're hyped because he's striking out 8 or 9 per outing. Javi, I love that pick.
Love Javier.
All right. Javi, my streamer here is less fun. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk about something a little bit more fun. The Not Gambling Advice Show. We're proud to be partnered also with MyBookie. It's a long season out there, but we've been actually, having a little fun with some parlays here and there, some straight bets here and there. I just cashed, actually, not even on baseball, on the Celtics last night, beating the Miami Heat, going to the NBA championship. I am hyped about that. Oh, yeah. You sad, Javi? You sad about the Heat? Okay. Well, if you want to bet, say, on the Celtics to win the NBA Finals, if you want to bet on the Warriors to win the NBA Finals, you can go do that on MyBookie. You can use promo code JustBaseball. You get a 50% deposit match. But even if you don't care about basketball and you just want to bet on baseball, Tail Peters Bets, Tail My Bets, you can go over to MyBookie, do the same thing, use promo code JustBaseball. Deposit, you get 50% match. Javi, my streamer is also a lefty, but definitely not as good as Aaron Ashby, but I think crafty enough to get the job done. Devin Smeltzner, which I don't know if that's short for Smelly Seltzer, but I might be calling him Smelly Seltzer just for the meme. Sorry, Devin. That's probably rude, but Devin Smeltzer, he's a crafty lefty. He only throws 89 miles an hour. He has a curveball and a changeup. But this week he gets a dream matchup with the Tigers, 94 WRC plus against lefties. Smeltzer last outing went 7 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts against the Royals. This is a guy that, he's not sexy. He is the opposite of sexy. But guess what? Sometimes you just need a guy to come in there, go deep into a game, get a quality start, get a win, not give up a ton of runs, and get out. And that's what Smeltzer's going to do. He does get the Blue Jays later in the week, which I think is a scarier matchup because they've been putting up a ton of runs lately. But I will say the Blue Jays also don't hit lefties that well. They have a 103 WRC plus against lefties this season. And I think you add him for tomorrow's outing against the Tigers. You keep him around for the week, possibly. Later in the week, if you need another start, if you possibly need a win and you really, don't really care about ERA at that point, I think it's fine to also start Smeltzer. I've been doing great with these streamers that are just shots in the dark, Javi. And so I think Smeltzer's a fun one. What do you think?
I agree, man. I agree. Streamers, the biggest thing is matchups. And the Tigers, I mean, they added Javi Baez. Yeah, they've got Torkelson, but those guys haven't come through. The fact that, their best hitter in their lineup has been Miguel Cabrera, basically, right? Like, he's been a batting average king and actually kind of decent and somewhat relevant. We might as well mention him really quickly. For batting average, if that's what you're looking for, not too bad, Miguel Cabrera, if that's what you need to start the year, if you're, bargain bin. hunting. Yeah, I agree. And with Smeltzer, yeah, it's not like the greatest stuff in the world, but sounds like a good one team. The Tigers are just, it's not good, man. It's not really good. And Javi Baez, love him. Puerto Rican power always.
And hit an off-speed pitch.
Yeah, he's struggling there. And I don't know if the Tigers are exactly the organization that will get him to necessarily figure all that stuff out, especially if Javi Baez was on the Giants, he's like a top 5 shortstop right now. Just or like one of those really good teams. That's what it feels like, right? But yeah, with that team, just I don't see a plan, and not to get too much into Tigers stuff or anything like that, but I just don't see it. I don't see a plan for what exactly they're doing. It feels like they've been rebuilding forever. So absolutely all in on Smeltzer.
Sweet, dude. That'll do it today. Not Gambling Advice Tuesday episode, waiver wire edition. Javi, thank you for coming on, my dude. Any closing words?
Only closing words is I'm onto you, Arm and Jack and Peter. I know you're trying to put them really high. I know what you're trying to do to my Padres. Stop it. That's not very nice. And also Arm, Arm sent you and I a very antagonizing message about the Marlins. Where have they been ever since then? So just enough.
I think
enough
you need
enough.
to go on Just Baseball Show and have a little debate with your friend Arm there. As always, it's Not Gambling Advice. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.